Hey guys, welcome back to another video. If you don't know who I am, I'm just Juicelyn and I'm glad you stopped by my channel today. So today is going to be a very interesting topic. A lot of people wanted me to talk about this, and after 3 years, I'm finally going to talk about it. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Sit back, grab some popcorn, because I can already tell you it's gonna be one of my longer videos. But anyway, like I said, I'm so glad you guys are watching today. So if you could just like this video, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. And now that it is fixed, you can finally hit the bell button so you're notified every single time that I post. Subscribe to join the Juicebox gang. We are growing. I'm so thankful for all the subscribers I already have. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay guys, so as you can already tell by the title of this video, I will be discussing why I left A&T. Now I just want to create a disclaimer that lets you know that this is not a video about bashing HBCUs. This is not a video comparing HBCUs to PWIs. This is not that video. I'm sure there's other videos like that on YouTube. So if that's what you're looking for, I suggest maybe you stop watching this. If you naturally prefer HBCUs over PWI, or if you really go hard for A&T and aren't open to hearing someone who has a different point of view on this school, I would say, honestly, this video is not for you. I'm thankful for both the experience of going to A&T and to currently be at Rowan University. So like I said, I will only be speaking on behalf of my personal experience, representing myself, my ideas, my values, and no one else. So without further ado, if you feel like you can handle that, I just want to keep all good vibes on this channel, then let's get into the video. I wanted to provide you guys with some of the background, what went into my decision for choosing A&T as a school, everything like that, my college application process, how many times I visited, and just things like that. So for starters, anybody who knows me or went to high school with me knows that like my top 5 were all HBCUs, and they were all schools that were out of state. Like I knew for a fact I didn't want to be in Jersey, and that I honestly didn't want to go to PWI. So for those of you who don't know, a HBCU is a historically Black college or a historically Black university. So, and then a PWI is a predominantly white institution. So if you go to Rowan, we go to a PWI. If you go to A&T, that's HBCU. So at the time when I was applying to colleges, I can recall my guidance counselor constantly telling me, like, Jocelyn, I see that all your schools are in North Carolina. I think you should apply to some schools in New Jersey, like as a safety school, just in case you don't get into your preferred schools in North Carolina. And I remember being like, there's no way, that's not going to happen. Like, that's not an option. I will not, under any circumstances, be in Jersey. That's what I swore to myself. Yet here I am going to a school in Jersey. But at one point, I do remember Shaw University, which is a HBCU in North Carolina. That was my #1 school. And then North Carolina A&T was my second choice. Then Central, I believe, North Carolina Central University, NCCU, that was my third choice. And then Winston-Salem State University was 4th, and I think 5th was East Carolina University. Now that one is not a HBCU, that one is a PWI, but as you could tell, like all my schools were just in North Carolina. For those who don't know, my current major is athletic training with a Spanish minor, and that is exactly what I knew I wanted to do by the time I was a senior in high school. So that was the major that I was looking for at all the different colleges I was applying. Now, what I learned and I was realizing in my research process that honestly, a lot of schools don't have that major, at least in a lot of HBCUs don't. It's usually a major called like sports science or health and exercise science is a little bit more popular. Now, the problem with that is like athletic training is like it's a specific branch under sports medicine. And in order to be like a certified athletic trainer, you would have to go to a Katie accredited program Now, when I was in high school, I didn't know that, and I didn't know what all of that meant. I just knew that I wanted to do athletic training, and that was that. So, like I was saying, Shaw was originally my first choice. I visited the school, and I realized after the visit, like, it's not exactly what I thought I wanted. But A&T, one of the reasons why I knew for sure, like, I wanted to go to A&T, one, I had already knew a couple of people that went there. Like, for example, there's this boy that went to my church that went there. He said he loved it. And North Carolina A&T is already just one of those HBCUs that is known as, like, illustrious and just having this amazing reputation. And it, honestly, like, it is a great school. It's very mesmerizing. It's so beautiful. Like, the campus is insane. Like, even to this day, I can recall one of my favorite spots on campus being where the Greensboro 4 statue is. That, like, just sitting in that space would always just give me chills. And there's just so much history in the area of Greensboro. I just was immediately attracted to it. Plus, A&T was one of those schools. It was the only school, actually, that I visited more than twice. I visited A&T around 4 or 5 times. Okay, so I was definitely someone during the college application process. I was doing my research. What is their program? Who's the department head? Who do I need to speak to about the different requirements? And what am I going to get when I walk away with a degree from A&T? And just things like that. How big the school is, how small. Just like the basic things you kind of ask yourself when looking at really any college, not even just because it's the HBCU. And I did so much research also just because the fact, like, when you're making a big decision to go to school out of state, you want to make sure it's right, because not even chances are, if you go out of state, you're paying out of state tuition, which anybody in college and maybe even some high school students know, that amount of money is significantly greater than if you were to go to school in your home state. And I've seen that just by coming home. I've seen the bill, and it's literally like 3 times less than what I was paying at A&T, which I know my parents are just loving. So during my senior year, I remember receiving my acceptance letter from A&T, and at that point they were my number one school. I had chose to choose a major of sports science and fitness management, I believe it was called. It allowed you to choose a concentration, so I chose the closest thing to athletic training, which was a concentration in physical therapy. And I remember speaking on the phone to many department heads as well as academic advisors there, like, is this athletic training, like, if I graduate, can I be a ATC, which is a certified athletic trainer? Like, yeah, things like that. So I'm like, all right, it's a no-brainer. Like, I love the campus. Every time I had a tour, it was amazing. The students seemed so, like, nice and welcoming, and it was lit. Like, they had the best chants. I already loved their colors, like blue and yellow. Those are my favorite colors. I was like, yo, this is a sign. Like, this is the only school I need to be looking at. I love this school. They have a great track and field program too. Maybe if I work out a little bit more, I could probably try out for the team or something. I was just filled with optimism. I was ready to go. Like, I remember counting down the days till move-in. And I remember the night before, I actually went live on YouTube. And I was like, it's move-in day. And I had all my stuff, and we were in the hotel. And I remember just saying, like, oh my gosh, like, tomorrow I'm starting college. Like, I'm moving into A&T. Like, let's get it. But everybody knows, like, even before you actually move in, you have an orientation. I got good vibes at the orientation. My parents were feeling it. They had a good time. I just felt like this was one of those schools that I had literally everybody's support on. Like, people from my church were like, oh my gosh. Some of the guidance counselors at my school were like, this is like a really great school. I'm glad you're going there. Another like thing, I just want to apologize if this video is not as fluid and everything like that, but I literally just had to stop recording and call someone and just take a breath, because I want this video to be great, but this is my life. Like, this is hard to talk about. And I don't know if it's more so me just worrying about people coming at me. Because as I tell people, when I left I got so much hate, and nobody really took time to understand how I felt about the situation or to even ask what happened and why I left. So let's just get into my experience. So academically, I was really excited. You're a freshman, you're like, oh my God, like, how are classes going to be different than high school? And it's like, there's this excitement, but it's also like, you're terrified because, people who come home from college, they talk to high school students and say all this stuff about college. But anyway, so I remember, for starters, my chemistry class, I had a really hard professor. Her name was Dr. Kendra Whitehead, but I loved her. Like, in retrospect, I loved her class. I loved how, like, hard she was. She really cared about her students and wanted them to succeed. She was funny, and she made chemistry very interesting, and she was very invested in not only the grade you had in her class, but she was also going to let you know, like, you're going to work for whatever grade you get in this class. And like, I just love no nonsense professors, and that's what I thought, like, she was really good at. And it was funny because I felt like we butt heads in the beginning because I had went home, and it was during a storm that had happened in Greensboro. So when I was on the train, like, back, my train got canceled and I couldn't come back in time, so I ended up missing my class. And I remember emailing her on the train and everything, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I really tried to be in class. And it was a day there was a quiz or an exam or something, and there was just this big F, like, in my grade, and I was like, oh my God, like, please, like, this isn't me, like, skipping class or anything like that. Like, I want to let you know that I care about your class. And, like, obviously, like, I'm doing well. Is there any way I can make it up or anything? Because usually she has, like, a no makeup rule or whatever. And she was like, show me that train ticket and we'll talk about it. And I remember being like, bruh, I'm telling the truth, like, and everything. And thank God I had kept the train ticket and everything. I remember right after class, or not even after class, it was a day I didn't even have her. I was waiting, and I don't even remember the names of the buildings, but I was waiting, and I was like, here's the train ticket, and I showed her everything. She was like, okay. She was like, I see you brought that train ticket. I was like, yeah, I told you I'm not trying to get, like, F, like, yeah. Okay, so academically, that was that class. Like, even though I don't like chemistry like that, she made me love it. So honestly, that is the only class I would say was challenging for me. Next was Intro to Kinesiology. We had a professor who was mostly, like, he recently graduated. He was really cool, down to earth. His class was really easy, and I felt like I still got to know a good amount of information about the subject, and it got me excited more and more about my major, because I'm like, oh, here we go, like, we're learning some things. And I thought it was funny, like, how he said, like, when you're in this major, a lot of people are going to ask you to write different workout plans for them, or ask them, can you train them? And even though that's not what athletic training was, and even though it was my freshman year, the people I did meet were asking me to go to the gym and help train them, or, like, give them a couple workouts to do. And that still happens to me to this day, so I find that really funny. And then also for my global business class, my professor was from South Korea, and he was just so sweet and so nice, and he knew so much. And I remember thinking, like, why am I in a business class? But it was also a really great class, and I thought that I would struggle because, as a business class, I've never taken a business class, not even in high school. I don't know nothing about business, but I thought it was really easy as well. And then my African American history class, that is something I truly loved about just the HBCU experience in general, that I feel like you really can't get at a PWI. All my professors, like I said, except the South Korean professor, all of them were Black, and it was nice to see yourself being represented in a classroom setting. And it just made me that much more comfortable, like, when I had a question, or if I wanted to talk to them after class. And they were very transparent about how things were when they were in school and different things like that. Sorry, camera shake a little bit. That, and just with a history class in general, not feeling like it's being whitewashed and being told the ultimate truth about your history, and having someone who looks like you explain it to you instead of the other way around. Now, that's not to discredit, white history teachers, but I feel like you really can't beat having your history told to you by someone of the same like heritage. And I feel like it just makes it that much more intriguing, or I don't know. I loved her class because she was just always teaching Black excellence and how you should carry yourself and how you should be proud to be Black. And that's something I felt like even in high school I didn't get because I went to a predominantly white high school. Like, yes, Burlington, very diverse. But at the end of the day, I think most Black people long to be told that, it's good to be Black. It's an amazing feeling to be Black, especially when the media paints Black people to be all these things that they're not. And there's so many stereotypes about Black people. It's nice to be told, like, you're special. You can do all these things, like, if you put your mind to it, and your hard work will pay off, even though sometimes it feels like it won't. So that I've learned so much from her. Academically, to sum it up, I loved my classes. I just overall felt like I wasn't being challenged. And I know a lot of people say, well, like, oh, well, you're a freshman, you're taking easier classes, stuff like that. But I've also met a lot of people that say, oh, like, I survived freshman year. Like, yeah, I know my classes are mostly prereqs, but I did, like I said, Intro to Kinesiology was considered a major course for me, and my global business class was considered a major course for me as well. So I know most freshmen don't even have major classes at that point, but I don't know. I just didn't feel challenged. Literally not in every class. Like I said, the chemistry class was the one class I was like, all right, I need to work in this class. But almost every other class, I remember going and just being like, either I felt like I already know about this, or I just felt like I want more work to do. Like, this isn't enough. Like, I just felt like academically I wasn't being challenged. Now, in high school, and this isn't like a brag or whatever, but in high school, I was in the National Honor Society. I'm used to having either straight A's or A's with a couple of B's. And I'm just a naturally curious person, and I love to read and I love to write and to learn. And I felt like I wasn't necessarily receiving that in all my classes, which is something I was really sad about, because I'm like, all right, I'm a freshman, I get that, but like, I just want to know more. And so that was just lacking a little bit. But honestly, about the classes, I can't really complain. These are the specific classes I got to take for my major. And oftentimes when you're in college, you don't have a say in your schedule anyway. I mean, you can determine when and when not you're going to take a class, but that's really it. Academically, I ended up with a 4.0 at the end of the semester, because, like I said, I just felt like it wasn't that hard. I made Chancellor's List by getting a 4.0 and everything like that. But another thing I want to touch on academically, which kind of fits into the social aspect. Academically, I felt like certain standards just weren't being met in the classroom, and it drove me crazy. Like, I don't know if it was just me and just my circumstance that I ended up in classes with people who seemed like they didn't necessarily care. And I know there's people like that at every college, not just here at A&T, but a lot of my classes, there was just people who didn't care. And there's nothing more than I hate. There's nothing I hate more than like wasted potential. I hate when people waste a good mind. There's so many people that wish they could go to college and be in college. I treat college as a privilege and an opportunity. And for you to sit here being class, like making jokes, like not taking it seriously, like talking over the professor and stuff like that, call me a goody two-shoes. I just don't like that, especially when I'm paying to be in class. You're distracting the class, so then the professor has to wait and stop talking and everything like that. Like, you want to be a class clown, like, do that on your own time, because I'm not here for it. My English class, I was called a couple of names for just naturally being the one in the class to ask a lot of questions. I know everybody has that person in the class who's like, oh my God, stop asking those questions. I wasn't like that, but I was just more so like, because I'm a perfectionist, I'm going to ask questions because when I turn it in, I expect to receive the grade that I deserve. I ask questions like, okay, like, how do you want it set up? Especially when it comes to writing, because that's so open for interpretation. And people would be like, oh, she's a teacher's pet. And people would be literally sitting behind me whispering like, oh, she thinks she's better than everybody. I have never once said that, felt like that, nothing like that. I was not raised like that. I would never believe that I'm better than anybody else. I just won't let myself turn in piss poor work. That's not me. I feel like every little thing I turn in, even if it's a card that just says put your first and last name on it, it is a reflection of me, and I do not turn in work that is not my best. So, and I feel like a lot of people didn't like that, but then what would piss me off about that is that then those same people that were just like making fun of me, anytime we had group work, they'd want to work with me. And it's not like I could be like, nah, like, I'm not gonna work with you. So two things would happen. Either I'd get completely excluded because nobody wanted to work with me because they thought I was quote unquote feeling like I was better than them, or it would be like everybody trying to work with me, but then what would actually happen is just like, here, I'm gonna sit here and look like I'm doing something, but you're gonna talk and come up with all the answers, and I'm just gonna copy it down and hopefully get the same grade as you. So that just really pissed me off because I don't like lazy people. Like, you should just do the work. Like, do the work. I don't understand. And I felt like we were never doing hard things. Like, that was one of my favorite classes, Ideas and Their Expressions, which I said was like an English class. And she mostly gave us the freedom to bring about the topics about which we wanted to write about. So I definitely walked away from that class frustrated many days, and I was definitely a lot more insecure back then. I know looking back at it now, if I was in those same classes, I wouldn't give a damn that they call me a goody two-shoes, a teacher's pet, or saying that I think I'm better. If you want to think that about me, that's fine. I didn't feel that way. And I think I probably would have declined working with a couple of people if I could go back. But in that moment, I was just like, like, I just want to make friends. So even though I just heard them talk about me, like, yeah, sure, we could work in a group together. And looking back, I'm just like, Jocelyn, no, why did you do that? You're silly. You're a silly one. In one of my classes, it was the class that I told you is like Rowan 101. It's just for a freshman. We had this scavenger hunt presentation, and each group was given a different office on campus you had to research and learn more about, and you had to take pictures of you going all around campus. And I believe we got the Dowdy building. I don't remember the name of the building. I have pictures. But anyway, like, I'll never forget the day we had to present. Like, there were people who literally went up to present, had their back to the whole class, reading off the slides, people on their phone during their presentation, laughing during their presentation, people whose presentations weren't even really like done like that, and they received the same grade as me. And how do I know that? Because the day that grades were given out, now mind you, I put screen recordings in my presentation. I had it color coded to like really show off the A&T vibe. I had a lot of pictures. I showed videos of us walking around. I included like so many graphics, whatever. It was probably like the most extra presentation ever. I made sure the people in my group knew what they had to say before we got up there. Like, no, like, I was dressed in probably like a polo and some slacks the day we presented, like everything, because that's just how I was taught in high school, middle school, whatever. We know if you're doing a presentation, you can't have your back. You can't read right off the slides. You get points off for stuff like that. So then, like, you know, I'm asking around in class, and we also had a group chat for this class. Now that I'm remembering, the class was called Freshman First. Yes, so that was the class, and I was asking people, like, oh, what'd you guys get? So I think the lowest grade I heard that somebody got was like an 80. And I was like, oh, what group were you in? And when I asked, I'm like, the group that got the 80 was the people who I said, like, either all their group members didn't show up that day, or the slides weren't necessarily complete. But the group that was laughing the whole time, they're on the phone, their backs were to like the class, they had got 100 too. And I'm sitting here like, okay, well, why did I do all this work just to receive the same exact grade as like somebody who clearly just didn't do the work? Like, I didn't understand. I was super frustrated. I was mad, annoyed, and I just hated that class. At a certain point, I was just like, this is kind of ridiculous. And I remember being annoyed because the person who taught that class was actually my academic advisor. And it's kind of funny. I went to her twice and told her that I was thinking about leaving A&T. I went to her twice before I actually left. And when I did leave A&T, I had to have an exit interview with her. And when she asked me, okay, so the first time I met with her and I told her, like, you know, I'm not feeling the best here, I'm thinking about leaving, whatever. She was just like, oh, like, why is that? I told her, I was like, honestly, I'm not really like feeling challenged academically. I don't really necessarily feel welcome here. And just like really things of that nature. She didn't offer any resources. She didn't say nothing. She was basically just like, oh, well, that's just because you're a freshman. And she was like, you'll be fine, stuff like that. Which I understand that may be reassuring for some people, but I made it very clear, like, I just wasn't in the best space.
Thousands of tears later.
She was like, oh, have things gotten better? I was like, no, they've kind of got worse. She was like, oh, but your grades are fine. I was like, well, yeah, because, you know, my parents aren't paying for me to be failing. And during the actual exit interview, she was like, okay, so why are you leaving, Jocelyn? And I was like, it's the same things I told you. I was like, one, I'm not happy here. I'm very depressed. And I said, secondly, I'm not being challenged academically. And I was like, I'm not paying out-of-state tuition to not feel challenged and everything like that. And I was just like, I just feel like I could be getting almost more bang for my buck. And at that point in time, I had found out that my program wasn't what I thought it was. So all she told me in my exit interview was like, well, you know, that's kind of on you that you weren't feeling challenged academically. If you wanted to feel challenged, you should have joined the honors college. And in my head, I was like, are you serious right now? Like, I thought she was joking. I was like, there's no way she just said that. And I was immediately frustrated because I'm like, why do I have to join the honors college to feel challenged? I feel like college in general should be a natural challenge on its own. And then the honors college is really for people who have more of the time and the curiosity to even go above and beyond what other people are doing. People who have like 18 plus credit schedules and like just want to do all these things. And I felt like, you know, eventually I knew I wanted to be in honors college, whether at A&T or even here at Rowan. But I'm like, I wouldn't want to do that or start that freshman year. And I just felt like if that's the only thing you can say about like not feeling challenged, instead of asking yourself, okay, what can we do better as like a department and everything like that so that she feels challenged, I don't know, that wasn't good enough for me. And I felt like when I told her I was leaving, like, she didn't even try to get me to stay. It was just like, oh, okay, you're leaving, okay, bye. And I feel like, well, dang, I guess me being here really didn't matter that much. And I know obviously you can't make everyone stay, but I was just like, dang.